Hello and welcome back to the Pit Wall Podcast, where this week we're going to be breaking down the Spanish Grand Prix.
This is a race that saw Max Verstappen's 40th win, a double podium for Mercedes, a disappointing weekend and a surprise from Aston Martin, and a couple penalties and a lot of other things. So it's a very interesting race to break down, and we're going to tell you how it happened. So first, I just want to remind you, if you're stopping by, we appreciate it. Why not subscribe and follow us on all the channels and stuff at the Pitwall Pod on Instagram and TikTok, and we have a Twitter too that I'm trying to use more. So anyway, do all of that, and let's, without further ado, get right into a quali in 60, because it was quite an interesting qualifying, if I do say so myself. So all right, so first thing that's notable is that Charles Leclerc finished P19 with a car that was totally jacked up, ahead of Logan Sargent and behind Alex Albon for both Williams in the bottom five. We had Haas, which was P17, Valtteri Bottas, a poor weekend, and P16 ahead of Yuki Tsunoda in 15th, and De Vries in 14th, kind of a surprise. Zhou Guanyu beating all of them in 13th. A poor qualifying for George Russell despite his eventual result in P12. And then the biggest headliner, in my opinion, was Checo Perez in P11, not making Q3. But someone that did was Oscar Piastri. That's right, 2 McLarens into Q3 for the first time. Fernando Alonso only getting up to 9th at his home Grand Prix. A Haas in P8. Ocon and Pierre Gasly in 7th and 4th, respectively. 2 Alpines in the top 3. Lewis Hamilton challenged, but ended up only getting P5, ahead of with Sainz in 2nd, and Max Verstappen once again getting pole. So
You are getting it right on the money, man.
that was a tough one. There was a lot of stuff I wanted to say. So yeah, I think I want to just start right off and say that Max's car this weekend was just on another field of existence.
I wrote down some stats on the gaps that he had.
On qualifying or
no,
just
okay, just in the race, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I just want to say that his qualifying, his first lap was so good, he didn't even have to finish his second lap, and he was upset about it because he didn't get to see and feel how fast it was.
Yeah,
that's how Max's weekend went, as opposed to other people's weekend who had other rough times. So, yeah, so let's get into the race. I think I want to hear, let's talk about your Max stuff, because there's kind of 2 races in this race. There was Max and everybody else.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
Why don't you talk about Max and tell us how that went?
Yeah, so he kept the lead from pole position, as you said he got in qualifying, and led every single lap. Lap 11, he was 5.5 seconds ahead of Sainz. And then when he finished the race, he was just above 24 seconds ahead of Hamilton, which is insane, which he also, like you said, took home his 40th win in Formula One. So that's awesome from him. But
do you think he's going to have the race win record by the time he retires? Because he's on a mega pace right now.
It depends on, honestly, Ford.
Yeah.
It
and the
depends on
2026
Ford.
regulations.
Yeah, and those. Because I feel like those regulations are going to be another reset, like the cost cap.
But let's assume, there's 2 more seasons left of these regulations, 24 and 25. You got to assume if Mercedes can't figure it out, he's going to get 16 wins at least per season.
Yeah.
That's 32. So that puts him up to 72, right? Yeah. 72. Plus that's not even counting the ones he's going to win
What's
this
the
season.
record right now?
Lewis has the most wins. I believe it's 103. I'm actually blanking on the amount of wins that he has.
Let me look up the upper.
Lewis Hamilton should be 103 wins, I believe. So, or maybe that's his poles. I always get his poles and his wins confused because the numbers are very similar. See, this is why I need to write down a stat. I need to have like every stat.
You are right.
103.
It's 103 wins.
Nice. Okay, so. But Lewis has been in this sport since 2007. So
when did he started in 16?
Max? Yeah, 16.
Yeah.
So yes. Yeah, and he had his first race win in Spain 2016. So I guess it's kind of comparable, I guess you could say. So we'll see. But anyway, any more stats about Max?
Not for Max. He is just dominant the whole race, as he most of the time is. Listen, you're going to have your time to gloat here in a few minutes, okay?
Oh, I'm preparing. I wore double Mercedes stuff today. I bought this. I already decided I'm not going to wash this shirt after this week. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, So we did. Then we have Checo, who started from the midfield, was passed by Russell and Joe
Yes,
at the start of the race, which I'm sure you're going to speak about that as well. But soon came back and started like getting back into the points. Ended up P4, so still good. He didn't get a podium, which sucks, but it did lead your drivers to victory at least.
Well, I don't even want to talk about my drivers yet. I want to talk about Checo because me and my dad have formulated an opinion about Checo, which is that
your dad's a Red Bull fan.
Yes, my dad's a Red Bull fan. He's more of a Max fan. I would say my mom is more of a Checo fan.
Yeah.
I do want to have my dad on the podcast at some point. I think that'd be fun, especially because he's really good at roasting people, and I think he could probably get me pretty good.
He could probably get me as the inexperienced new fan.
Well, see, you got to remember, my dad doesn't listen to news. He doesn't get on Twitter.
So he only watches the race.
So he'll go. So the first thing he learns between the end of a race is anything I tell him. So I'll tell him hey, there was a penalty after the race.
Yeah.
Or he'll look it up sometimes. Mm-hmm. Or if ESPN has an article that he happens upon.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever is in the weekend warm up, and they usually say a lot of this stuff, and then Drive to Survive. So my dad is not a Twitter sleuth. So anyway,
gotcha.
But we agree that Checo is trying to beat Max, and if he just runs his own race, he will beat Max sometimes.
Yeah,
he's trying to win the championship, and he is screwing himself over in the process.
Yeah, he now officially has the car to do so. Seriously, because Red Bull even stated this year, this car is more suited as a mid-ground for both drivers. It's not just Max oriented anymore. We're going as a team for this season, and Max has just been better.
I'm aware that I'm dressed head to toe in Mercedes, but I'm saying right now, if Checo does not get P2 in the championship this year, that is a fail. A massive fail.
Yeah, Red Bull won't be happy about that.
Yeah, and I don't know what they'll do about that. I mean, if he finishes 1 point in third, but who's going to get it?
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a P3 battle between Alonso and Lewis for a long time, but if Checo needs to get P2 in the championship.
I agree.
I'm not saying he's not going to. I'm not saying that it's looking dire, but 2 races in a row, bad time. Can't really blame him for a bad race in Monaco.
Yeah.
But he's looking at Max's times again. He's pulling again. I mean, he looks like Gasly right now.
Well,
I'm just going to say it. He looks like Gasly Red Bull time right now.
Well, to be honest, though, I mean, I'm kind of worried about Aston Martin after this weekend.
Yeah, so
that's why I'm also I feel like he does have it in the bag because his only competition right now, at least, is going to be Fernando in the current points.
Okay, so let's go into Mercedes and Aston Martin then, because that's the chunk of our episode. I feel like. So this is Mercedes' first real weekend with the W14B, and let's go W14B! Yes, double podium on merit. I would think. I mean, maybe they only would have had one podium if Checo had had a better qualifying. I don't know, but an incredible race. A trepidatious weekend between the two of them when they hit in qualifying and all of this stuff. And whose fault was it? It was George Russell's. But well, it was his engineer, but also kind of George Russell's. If you watch the onboard during qualifying, if you don't know, if you didn't watch qualifying, basically George Russell was going fast, but Lewis Hamilton was going faster behind him with a slipstream. Tried to go by him. George Russell had the last turn plus the entire straight to realize he was there, was not warned nor realized, and they hit and broke Lewis's wing. So I was very angry, but it worked out. And I don't really know where Mercedes stands fully still, I feel like. You have to remember, they had a good Spain race last year. I think a lot of people aren't talking about that.
Yeah.
And that makes me nervous. But Toto Wolff himself said that all of the problems from the W13 are gone, and that now they 100% understand this car and know where to go from here. It's just about the money and the cost cap, which leads me to something I posted on TikTok yesterday that people were upset about, of course, which I knew, which is that Christian Horner's already saying, oh, they might have broken the cost cap. It's I don't know how Red Bull didn't break the cost cap this year. I'm just going to be of their cap.
Oh yeah.
We'll find out. But I think this is going to be a very interesting battle between Mercedes and Aston for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And I think we're poising ourselves for this. This is very reminiscent of a Red Bull 2020.
Oh yeah,
Very reminiscent, and that gets me really excited for next year because not just as a Mercedes fan, but just as a fan of the sport, I miss the war between Mercedes and Red Bull was like the most entertaining thing. Like every day on Twitter there was something. Like it was like you wake up and it was like Christian Horner said this and I would get angry, and then Toto would have like it was just a whole thing.
And Toto would say anything and he would get super happy.
Yeah, and it was a great with my family, like I don't know, just like them being I did not speak to my parents after Abu Dhabi 21 for like 2 weeks. Not intentionally, they just like knew not to talk to me. I got home for Christmas and that was the first time I had talked to them since December, whatever it was, 10th. And they were like, hey, and I was like, hey, how's it going? Anyway, that was a rant. Lewis P2, George P3. You had mentioned that George overtook Checo in kind of dramatic fashion. I was very happy he didn't get a penalty, and let me explain. So if you didn't watch the race, George kind of avoided contact, I think maybe more than he needed to on the opening lap, and he took an escape road around turn 3. And there's a bollard that if you go around and follow the escape road, it's allowed to do. And it is longer, so it shouldn't have been possible. But somehow, in all of this, in the whole lap, he got 5 overtakes in the first opening lap.
Jeez.
And homie came to play that day, and somehow from P12 marched all the way up past Checo to get a podium. So that's why I'm kind of like, it was on merit, I think. And Aston had a very rough weekend. Stroll beating Alonso, there's something wrong. Alonso took a trip through the gravel in qualifying and cracked his floor. They were working on it the whole time, taping it every run. I don't think they ever fully fixed it. So I'm not saying that I think Mercedes' car was slightly better this weekend. I think Alonso's car was just messed up, and Stroll, again, I just don't think is the best driver. So I
was looking at Aston Martin's website, like their race recap that they do after each race, and each team that I like every time before the podcast, I'll do a race recap search for like each team that we follow, and everybody, well, except for like Mercedes and Red Bull, of course, we're talking about like this race pace was like terrible for everybody. And like I said, other than Red Bull and Mercedes. So I don't know, like you said, if this is just like a one-off because of maybe that damage for Alonso, but he complained about the pace. Stroll complained about the pace. Their lead team engineer complained about it. So I want to see him win or compete.
So what are your, you mentioned you're worried about their pace. What will you expand on that? I kind of know what you're talking about, but I'm interested in what you have to say.
We've seen them leading the race or leading, P3, I mean. The front or the midfield at least. This whole season so far. And this race was like, I mean,
a fluke.
That's what it could be. I mean, he started P8 and ended P7. Fernando did. So I don't know. Maybe, I mean, it could have been a
So did you see Alonso's quote after about their updates?
Which one?
He said that they're going to crush the competition at the next race in Canada, which is in 2 weeks or a little less than 2 weeks. And that has me nervous. But that sounds like a little bit of hype to me. Their 2 major updates are coming in Canada and in England.
Oh, okay. Well then, forget everything I said then.
Well, no, I mean, no, you're valid because you're worried. But he said, I saw a quote today and I wrote it down, that he says, I believe that we can challenge the Red Bulls in Canada.
I mean,
what is this update?
It depends on Checo's driving.
No, I know. He's talking about the win. Win.
Well, no, what I'm saying though is that like feasibly, if Checo has a good race, he doesn't have a chance, I don't think. I mean, Red Bull's got the best car. They're going to have the best car.
Hold on, you're still not understanding. He's saying he can beat Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen. I know. I'm just saying.
But why does it depend on Checo?
No. I'm saying the only feasible like possibility he has of doing good is if Checo, like P2 is what I'm saying.
Oh,
sorry,
you're saying he can't beat Max.
No. I'm saying the only chance he would have is beating Checo for a podium.
Alonso is going to Canada with a spot on his shelf dusted off for the first place trophy.
Yeah.
He thinks he's going to win this race.
What if he does?
He's not.
What if he does though?
All right,
Does
put it in
Red
the
Bull
comments.
panic?
Put it in the comments. Is Alonso going to win in Canada? The hype is always around Alonso, and I'm starting to believe that he can't do it this season.
Hey, I mean,
I think he will win another race before he retires. I think he might win a championship before he retires.
Really?
I think it's
I mean, he's
feasible.
got it in him to do it.
I think right now he's got a better shot than Lewis Hamilton does.
Hey, I mean,
currently.
Listen, I think the upgrades could do something. I mean, Red Bull's bringing no side pods, remember? For anyone that doesn't know, Max quoted, I think it was after the race press conference. They were talking about the upgrades coming, and someone asked him, like, what do you think about, everybody's getting side pods now, kind of copying Red Bull, and he's like, well, in a few weeks' time, we'll have no side pods, and we'll see if everybody goes back to that.
I hope they do it. They won't.
They obviously won't, because I mean,
Now,
their car is phenomenal right now. But if I saw a concept car that they brought with no side pods,
they need to just run a Friday practice on Checo's car with no side pods,
Yes.
as the press alone will pay for it.
oh yeah,
I want to mention too that Max also said that, I don't know if you saw this, that Red Bull's bringing in an entirely new floor.
Yep.
So this floor that they currently have that got pictured is
Yeah.
almost totally worthless.
wow.
Like now, because they said they have a floor that's even better.
yeah,
Which it's hard to believe, but I believe it. So
they could be saying that to throw people off.
I don't know. I don't think Max is playing that game this year. I think
Max said it.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
okay,
Max
okay.
is throwing down the gauntlet of, we're bringing a new floor that's even better. Beat us.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I have a question for you about Aston Martin, and then we can
Okay.
get to the other teams,
Okay.
because Aston Martin's the most interesting. Aston Martin and Mercedes are the most dynamic. I'll say that. They're the
Yes.
most dynamic right now. We don't know what's going on. Red Bull's at the top. There's like gray area. Aston Martin, as you know, finished very low in the championship last year.
Yeah,
They have 107% wind tunnel time of total possible. So they
Mhm.
have more wind tunnel time than 100%,
Yeah.
which is a weird way of saying it.
Mhm.
In June, which I don't remember if I believe it's after this race. It is after this race. In June, they reallocate the wind tunnel time for the rest of the season. And it's going to hit Aston Martin big time,
Yeah.
because they're either going to be in P2 or P3, and have the difference is significant. I think it's 20 or 30%. Do you think that will affect them, or do you think they've already planned for that? Because they didn't expect to be this fast
no, I think that's why they're bringing the major upgrades so quick.
to Canada.
Yeah,
Because they have one for England, but it's not that far off after Canada.
I was about to say, but
It's July
when did
11th.
they reallocate?
It's in June sometime. I believe it's after this race, because there's a decent size break.
I mean, I'm sure they've thought of that, and I would think that's why they would bring major upgrades now to try and get even more of an advantage now.
I have another theory that I
Okay.
think this is actually strategically the worst time for Mercedes to be in second place, because they get less wind tunnel time. So it'd actually be better for them to be behind Aston by just the tiniest bit until after. Now, obviously, you would never tank on purpose. Not when you got the first double podium in like a while.
Oh yeah,
But you know what I'm saying. So I think that's interesting. So we'll see. What are your thoughts? Do you think Mercedes is a fad, or do you think they have turned the corner?
I mean, it's tough to tell in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that what's next? I'm gonna look up.
Canada, Austria, England, and I can't remember the race after England.
What is it? Okay, sorry, I'm looking up an image of Canada.
It's Circuit Jacques Villeneuve.
Yeah,
That's my favorite circuit name. That's why I knew.
Villeneuve.
It's got the Wall of Champions.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's a pretty straight.
Barcelona is like pretty straightforward track. It's not like got super tight corners or anything like crazy like that.
medium speed corners.
Yeah. I think this would give us a little bit better of a chance because like looking at it right
It's
now,
got a hairpin.
yeah, turn 13 and 14 are pretty tight, and then like you said, turn 1 or 2 is a pretty. It's probably
It's
like
a mixed track for sure.
Yeah. I think this would show us better than Barcelona, considering how
Well, think about it this way: the Mercedes had good pace in Monaco too. It should be said, and it's in low speed, so it's really medium speed that we don't know.
That's true.
I am trying my best to look at this realistically, and I do think there's a corner that has been turned, but I don't think we know who's going to finish P2 in the championship this year. I think that Mercedes,
It's McLaren.
That's it. All right, that's the episode.
That's the episode.
I think between now, I think Mercedes absolutely will challenge Red Bull next year. I just think that it's a longer plan than that, and everybody's like, it's better now, but I think there's a chance Aston is basically equal, if not a little faster in Canada, and then England is where we're going to know for sure, like, because they're both bringing their last big updates that are planned for the year to Silverstone.
Yeah, I'm also worried. I also think that can be a chance because of Ford. And I'm not saying Ford is going to mess up.
Now? What are you saying? Now?
Huh? No. Like when Red Bull gets like their Ford
eventually.
engines.
Yeah.
Like,
because they're sticking with Honda for another 2 years, right?
Yeah. Wait, no. I thought it was 2024.
Are they starting with Honda? No, they're not starting with Ford next year.
Really?
I think maybe their partnership starts, but there's no way. We'd be breaking this down day by day.
No, you're right. My bad.
There's Honda racing under
under
Red Bull.
Okay, well, never mind. Forget what I was about to say. I was going to say, well, anyway, in 2026, I'm still worried about Ford coming in because we just don't know.
Again, I think it's a label.
Yeah, that's fair. It could be.
But with all of this said, I think we can safely say. Well, let's talk about Ferrari, because I think Ferrari is the other key player to this.
Well, one thing real quick.
Okay.
I do, just to answer your question, because I never really did, I do think Mercedes is a lot stronger now. Even showing off in Monaco, and now that they have a double podium win, when every other major team had very hard trouble with degradation. Their tires were, it was just bad.
I think Mercedes has figured out tire temperature.
Yeah.
I think they figured out their downforce.
Mm-hmm.
I think they haven't figured out their top speed yet.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's the easier part, sort of. I mean, perfect example of why it's the easier part. And I kind of want to talk about this later too. Williams, a bullet in the straight line, but still the P19, P20 car.
Yeah.
So that's why it's the quote unquote easier thing. And Mercedes fixed their engine for sure over the winter. So
for sure.
Let's move on because we've been lingering on this a little bit. Tell me about Carlos Sainz's race.
So started on the front row of the grid behind Verstappen, and he actually had really good qualifying pace. But he, like you said, could not hold up to Mercedes. Got overtaken by Russell. I had the lap in my head.
I don't know what it is either.
Well, I don't know the lap.
Laps
Sorry.
in.
Yeah. And just couldn't hold on to it. Ended up P5. So they're at least happy to have some points after, Leclerc's incident.
I think at the same time, talk about Lando too, because I know that's like jumping a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell me about Lando's race too.
So this devastated me, dude.
It did not devastate me.
I'm sure it did. But Lando Norris had contact with Hamilton in the very first lap of the race, which caused him to pit early because he had front wing damage, which put him P20. And my heart was broken first lap of the race.
Yeah.
So ended up out of the points, P17. I'm now officially calling this my MDS, my McLaren delusion syndrome.
I think we should make shirts. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah,
McLaren
that'd be good.
syndrome.
I definitely need one. My Haas delusion syndrome is gone. I think completely.
I think this weekend killed it for me.
Yeah. Well, I told you.
It's like mono.
You had hopes like a few weeks ago. And I was like, I think it's gone.
Haas delusion syndrome is like mono. You get it, and then it never fully goes away. Like it's always in your system. It's contagious sometimes. But
my McLaren delusion syndrome will still be there next race.
But it was Lando's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was worried. I was like, why is Lewis always like somehow involved? He didn't do anything wrong. Like Lando was
even
too.
After, you can watch it and just realize it's.
Lando had lost when he didn't move over to the right at the beginning, which is he had every chance to be P2 at the beginning of the race. I think he wouldn't have finished there, but.
He said in his post-race interview that he was like, even if we didn't have to pit, I doubt we would have been in points today because of just everybody else.
Yeah. So anyway, that's related to what happened with Russell and everything. So So anyway, let's go back to Ferrari. So Sainz, where did he finish?
P5.
Okay, so Ferrari had, I would say, kind of a rough day.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leclerc finished P11. I want to go back to qualifying for 2 seconds. Two things I didn't mention. Lewis screwed up in turn 10 on his final lap, or he would have been P2, which is pretty significant, I think, to my case about why I think Mercedes isn't a total fluke right now.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have that kind of qualifying pace last year. And
Yeah.
they also, and their qualifying is their weaker part. So if Lewis can be putting in some in the top 4, he can finish on the podium consistently, I think.
Yeah.
You're like, what's that face for? You don't, this
No,
delusion syndrome?
No. It's actually completely unrelated. A video, or I was rewatching the newest Drive to Survive season.
Oh yeah.
And I just kept thinking of George Russell saying, "Man, this car is fast." I'm sorry that it randomly popped into my head, and I'm sorry.
It was. I have a theory about Ferrari, and I'm calling Ferrari 2022. Sorry, I'm gonna say it again.
Okay.
Ferrari is 2022 Mercedes. Let this sit in for a second.
Okay.
The car is super weird. They don't understand it. Leclerc says that in different stints of the race, the same tire will do entirely different things in same temperature and similar fuel. And if you didn't watch practice in the practice 1 and 2, one of them ran the old spec car and the other one ran the new spec car. And the old spec car they were basically the same. Yeah. And they assumed, Ferrari keeps saying, we're bringing a 1.1 second update. We're bringing it. Well, they brought it and it's basically not right.
Yeah.
Then they put Leclerc's car together because I believe Leclerc's the one that switched. And if not, it doesn't matter. And you'll see why. Basically, whoever's car they were working on the night before, they didn't quite get it right for Leclerc. And Leclerc had a terrible time. I mean, you can watch. He's getting understeer. The reason that he crashed, Sainz crashed the exact same way that Leclerc crashed, similar to Miami. The exact same way you can watch the onboards. They're identical. And I believe it's mechanical grip is their issue. So I'm actually taking some crap away from Leclerc when he crashed in Miami. I think he's a little too risky, but I think this car is just 2022 Mercedes.
Yeah.
So, but reliable. They haven't had a single. Well, the first race they did, but I almost don't give any crap to the first race things. Red Bull had double DNF last year. Didn't matter.
Yeah, that's fair.
So anyway, 2022 Mercedes is 2023 Ferrari. I think Ferrari it will finish P4.
Yeah.
So, anyway, give me some more. Your drivers. Give me some more of your drivers.
Let's talk about Alpine because we had a good race from him. Started P6 and did drop down to P8, but he's still in the points again after a Monaco win. I mean, I'm sure he's still happy. But getting points again is really good for the team. And it was a tough race for him. Like, it didn't get the points he wanted, but both was reading some interviews and both drivers think the car is getting a lot better. So hopefully we can see them towards the top of the midfield again.
Gasly, not a lot to talk about. He got P10. He was gifted points via Yuki, who got a penalty. I can go ahead and talk about that really fast. Not very complex. Yuki shoved somebody off and got a 5-second penalty for it. There's a lot of criticism towards it. There's a lot of people have pointed out. There's always, anytime there's a penalty these days, there's been so many races that there's always a well, they didn't get a penalty then. The most leading example is 2021 Brazil. Max Verstappen shoved Lewis Hamilton about 50 feet off of the racing line. But they both were doing stuff. So, I could say that as a matured individual since then. At the time, I was upset.
Yeah.
But Yuki looked absolutely devastated about this.
He was. Did you listen to his post-race interview?
I didn't. Please tell us.
Well, no, I was just saying he was I was just backing up your point. I mean, he was so mad about it.
Yeah.
But but while we're talking about that, actually, talking about Zhou.
Yeah, sure.
Started P13 and also because of Yuki's penalty got P10.
Yeah.
or P9. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
P9 because of Yuki's penalty. So
rough
that's
penalty, man.
huh.
That's a rough penalty to
Yeah.
drop all the way out like that.
It sucks, man. But it is good for Alfa Romeo and for Zhou. Got some points for the team. What about Bottas? How did he do?
Ooh, Bottas had a terrible weekend.
Yeah.
P19, just ahead of Logan. I investigated. There's no reason listed. There's no issues. Their cars appeared to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
This is worrying me for Valtteri Bottas's future.
Yeah, we had talked about this on day before the race on Saturday.
Yeah, so I just don't know. Six races in a row with 0 points.
Yeah.
Not a lot of Q3 appearances, only a few Q2 appearances. I'm very concerned.
Yeah, we had talked about how he is just kind of what I call just coasting right now, and he's just staying in. Because he can. Do you still think that's
yeah?
He's just kind of here.
I don't know if there's a seat for him next year or not.
Mm.
It makes me sad. It just does. I like Bottas a lot.
Yeah.
I think it would be super ironic if Mick Schumacher takes a seat because it's like another Mercedes driver.
Yeah.
I will say Alfa Romeo was shown in Apple's keynote yesterday at WWDC, which I was very surprised to see. So that's just a little random tidbit. We skipped over De Vries when I talked about Yuki. How was De Vries' race?
Not too great. Started P14 and ended in the same position. So tough race for him.
Bad AlphaTauri weekend.
Yeah, it really was, man. I'm worried for him.
Yeah, dude. There's so many drivers. Right when I was saying there's no silly season this year,
Yeah.
I feel like this could turn into a Ricardo style silly season where there's like contract buyouts. Like,
Oh yeah.
if they are tired of De Vries, they're just gonna get rid of him somehow. They'll get rid of him. So the only man one of the few people that I think is safe is Alex Albon. P16. Tough time. Nothing really to talk about. I do have something to mention about Sargent though. So how about you tell us about Sargent's race real fast?
Yeah. I mean, he's our hometown hero, ending P20 once again.
Yeah.
Man,
put him on a circle track. Maybe he'll do better.
That's what they're gonna say.
That's
what all the comments say, man.
Oh, I know. It's funny because since we talked about being Americans and stuff last week, I like re-noticed the comments and I was like, yeah, there's still a lot.
Yeah, there's still a lot for sure.
Anyway, go on.
I'm worried for him, man, because like he came into Formula One not really having a lot under his belt to begin with. He had just gotten his super license, so I'm worried. Like that's one of those, like you said, Nick De Vries. I mean, Logan Sargent's been P20 multiple races.
Yeah.
So
and he's losing his excuse time. It's I need to do well.
And Albon's been, I mean, yeah, it's still not points, but has been showing they can get higher than P20.
So what I was going to mention is, he crashed in Q3.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, in practice 3.
Yeah.
Did you see the picture of their floor?
I did, but I can pull it up real quick to look at it again.
Their floor is the most underdeveloped, like underside of a Honda Civic I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, dude. It is quite, it like almost made me sick because it's just like the cost cap is not enough. Like it's just not, it is, I can't.
Like, you think there should be less?
Well,
like they should be able to have to spend less?
No, I don't think you can go much less than this. It makes me really sad because I know that Williams can't catch up when they don't have the right technology.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'm going to pull it up for you if you can't find it.
Yeah, sorry, I looked up his crash in FP3, but nothing popped, like an image didn't pop up.
So like, basically, they only got the 3D imaging software that that Mercedes had for years, like a couple days ago.
This? I mean, that's probably not the good angle,
rear.
but
It's the rear angle. They might have taken it off. They might have figured out a way to get it offline. So, so I don't know. It makes me really sad that they don't have this technology.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of shocked the world. A lot of people are upset about what it looks like. Here you go. Perfect. Look at it's on the left. Look at that compared to Max's. Look at this Mercedes' floor. See the back?
Yeah.
How flat it is.
What the?
So it's, I mean, look it up if you're online. I don't want to get copyrighted, but
Yeah.
There's no development at all, and it's really sad. So that's why it's a bullet in the straight line, because it doesn't have any downforce. Like, it can just, I mean, it's got a Mercedes engine, so it's essentially take a Mercedes, strip every piece of downforce it has out of it, and shoot it in a straight line with good aero. So, anyway, that's it. Again, Sargent still needs to figure out what to do with it, but I wish we could see Sargent in a better car and see what he could do.
Yeah, that's true.
But, but we saw, Danny Rick, great driver, can't drive a bad car, so who knows. Last person that we haven't talked about is Piastri, I think.
Yeah, you haven't talked about Piastri, and we haven't talked about Haas.
Okay, well, let's talk about Haas first, because I'm trying to find my Piastri note.
I can talk about Hulkenberg, who had a good start, but did not finish well.
Yeah.
Sorry, he started P7, and I was kind of like hopeful, but I still knew in my head it wouldn't be too good.
Yeah.
Ended P15. I wasn't shocked to see him fall back, especially when they had a 3-stop race where everybody else had a 2-stop.
Yeah.
Well, of course, other than Lando Norris, but
yeah. Lando Norris had a mostly stop race.
Yeah.
K-Mag P18. I mean, Haas is just looking bad again. I mean, they're consistently better than Williams, so they got something there.
That's true.
And which is honestly very sad considering Williams' history. You would think they would be better than Haas.
Yeah.
But, Williams is also still recovering from all the crap that they went through a couple years ago. I don't think it's
when the person stepped down. I forgot her name.
Yeah. The season where Claire flew all the stuff in her trunk. So Piastri, P13, making it a double no points for McLaren. Both of them say that their car is the 7th or 8th fastest, which is just not the McLaren that we all know and love.
Yeah.
So it's very disappointing. That's basically it for the race. I'll go ahead and give my winner and loser. Bet you can't guess who my winners are. Ding, ding, ding. It's Mercedes. Let's go. I believe that the W14 is now the platform we need to get back to the championship form. It may take the rest of this season. It will definitely take at least the rest of this season. It may take some of next season. Who knows? But I believe by Spain next season, Mercedes will win a race that beating Red Bull on merit with them having a normal thing. Okay. I think that is the timeline.
Yeah.
I think they can catch up.
Okay, cool.
So, and my loser, I got to give it to Lando. I mean, I know I'm stealing the easy ones, but I always let you go first. That's why I'm doing it.
That's fair.
Lando, just ultimate loser of this race. I also got to criticize Zach Brown a little more. They get P3 and qualifying, and they are about to go like have a toga party or something, and like they're going nuts. It's like you're gonna get your crap eaten alive. I looked at Kendra before we started this race, and I was like, Lando Norris is about to get destroyed. I was like, look at all these people that are behind him that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
There were less that passed him than I thought, than it being his fault. But
that's fair.
Anyway, give me your winner and loser.
Winner, you give it to Mercedes. So, I'm going to give it to George Russell.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think he had a really good race. So I think he deserves my win for this race. Loser, probably going to be, it's Logan Sargent.
Yeah.
It's just Logan. This race is just kind of like making me realize
cemented the depression.
This is rough for our American hero. And
I don't think he's our American hero.
Okay,
he's our American.
He's our American.
So a couple news things. We talked about Christian Horner, Aston. We talked about Max says there's a new floor. George Russell heard he extended his contract through 2025, though we've seen nothing official. We're expecting Lewis to re-sign as well. Thank God. I'm going to have like a whole, when he retires, I'm going to need like a 20 episode podcast series on just being sad. Lewis is likely to resign. And Canada's coming up. I hope it doesn't rain. I just want to see a normal race. We got lucky this week. Could have been worse. And Spain, of all places, normally doesn't rain at this race. So, Any thoughts or predictions? What are you predicting how Aston does in this next race? That's what I'm most curious about. Aston, Mercedes, Ferrari. Predict the top 5 of the next race.
Ooh, top 5?
Top 5 drivers.
In order?
Yes.
Max.
Okay.
Checo.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does really well in like tight corner races, I feel like.
Yeah, he does.
And hairpins. So, Max and Checo, so 1-2 for Red Bull.
Okay.
Then it's tough because I don't, like you said, I don't know if this is a one-off for Mercedes. We don't know yet. So because I don't know, I'm gonna say Fernando, Lewis, George.
So he did crash last year. Checo did in the race. This is basically the end of his chance at a championship last year. So,
gotcha.
I don't know. I think he's gonna be in his head. I'm gonna say Checo is gonna. I'm gonna say P1 Max, P2 Alonso and Lewis fight it to the line. I don't know who gets it, to be honest. P2 and 3.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put Checo P4 a long way ahead of George Russell at P5. Gotcha. I think, and then both Ferraris.
Okay.
I would say out of this the 6 drivers we always talk about, I think one DNFs. Don't know who it is. I would say I don't think it'll be the Mercedes. I think it'll be a Ferrari, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Or Checo. So
one thing I forgot to actually mention about this is Max got a black flag, the black and white flag.
Oh.
I forgot to mention that how so he crossed track limits multiple times.
Yep.
And so they gave him the black and white flag, and which is, if I'm right, if you do it one more time,
penalty.
Yeah, you get a penalty.
5 seconds.
And which obviously wouldn't have mattered too much, but
I kind of was hoping he would do it as a joke.
Yeah. So then they're like, okay, just his engineers are like, okay, just like, you're winning this race, don't mess it up. And then he's like, what's the fastest lap, by the way? And they're like, oh, Checo's got a 16.3, you're on like a 17.7. 1 lap later, Max Verstappen holds the fastest lap.
And then he goes, bring it home, and he goes, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, all right, now can you bring it home? Yeah, I got you.
One thing I forgot to mention is I liked George, Lewis, and Max in the cool down room afterward.
Oh,
they were kind of like chummy. I was like, this is good to see.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I think, to be honest with you, I think having another Red Bull Mercedes battle right after 2021 could have gotten really bad.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm almost glad there's kind of this like easing of like airing of grievances.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Toto's out here complimenting Red Bull every other day, and
That's
I'm
true.
like, what's going on? And
Horner, I don't think Horner will ever compliment Mercedes.
No, you guys could win 9 in a row, beat our record, and it would be like, but Mercedes went fast one time. Okay, last topic, and then we'll close it out. Do you think Red Bull is going to clear wipe the season and win every race and
here on out?
From here on out, because they already have so far. And we're a decent way into the season now.
Yeah.
We're approaching, we're a third of the way through the season.
Yeah.
So
that's tough.
So they only have to do it 2 more times if you think about it that way.
If there's no
craziness,
mechanical issues,
I don't think there will be.
Yeah, which I don't think there will be. I think they've got a good shot. I think
no one's ever done it.
I'm gonna research the record for like the most wins in a
19.
season. I think it's
Yeah.
So, and what, there's
22 this year. Well, there were 23, but with Imola canceled 22.
Yeah. I think he can do it. I think he's
Monaco's
either going to break
gone.
that record or he's going to
win
them all.
Max or just both of them?
Red Bull.
We're just talking about Red Bull.
Red Bull.
I think there's a chance they do.
Yeah.
I need Lewis to win a race. Brazil, I think, again, is their best. Anytime there's a sprint race weekend, I think is the chances that Red Bull.
Oh, yeah.
Because they just have had struggles. Even though he's won several of them, they've had setup issues and crap.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened in Brazil last year.
Yeah.
So I think Brazil and Silverstone is the 2 places that Lewis could win.
Yeah.
Alonso, I thought he could win these last two, and I thought those were his key races, so I don't really know. Lewis just has some like connection to Silverstone in like this ungodly way. I mean, you watched last year; he's dragging this piece of crap car almost to the victory last year. I mean, granted, Max was out, but I think there's a chance he wins either one. So I don't think they're going to clear wipe. I think they're going to drop one, and I don't know when it is, but it just doesn't seem like.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
And if not, we need to add more races,
so they can break
races.
the record even better.
Hear me out. 52 races. The season never ends.
Gosh.
Sprint race every weekend too, so that would make a total of 104 races.
Jesus,
I'm kidding. I don't think I can do that. They got a good number right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's been it. Thanks for watching. Follow us everywhere. Subscribe. Share this with a friend. I haven't said that yet. If you got a Formula One friend, we like to be here for both experts and beginners alike. We're not afraid to take on the crap from people that don't like Americans in the sport.
Oh yeah.
And I noticed that Formula Bone kind of says similar stuff too. I was kind of looking into it.
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad that we're all can be a united front to change the sport.
Gatekeeping.
Yeah, because I mean, last year, okay, no tangent. I'm just gonna state this. Last year, there's a lot of incidents in the grandstands. Like there were like racial incidents that happened, and I hate that. I don't want our sport to be like that. So, I'm calling it our sport because it's
everybody's.
It's everybody's sport.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that was a little soapbox to get on at the end. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you after Canada.
Oh yeah.
Goodbye.
Can't wait. Bye.
Oh, Canada.
Da, da, da.